Chapter 12, Carbonel Explains. "I say," said John, "if you want to take care of the twigs on the broom, why don't you wrap something round them? Brown paper or something?"
"It might help," said the cat doubtfully, "but not brown paper. The broom has got its feelings, same as anyone else."
"I know," said Rosemary, "my shoe bag." She ran to the wardrobe, tipped out her gym shoes, and brought it to the bed. It was made of scarlet flannel.
"Not a bad idea," said Carbonel grudgingly as they slipped it carefully on.
Rosemary drew up the strings and tied them securely.
"What magic runes are on the side?" asked the cat suspiciously.
The words Rosemary Brown were embroidered in white chain stitch. "Oh, we have that, so that it won't get lost at school," said Rosemary.
"That is the practical sort of magic I like to see."
By now John had completely recovered from his ride on the broom and was bouncing up and down on the bed. "I say, I'm hungry. Let's fry those sausages." So they went into the sitting room. When they'd mopped up the flower water, which John had knocked over in his wild flight, the feast still looked pretty good. Carbonel seemed genuinely touched by the sprats which were piled up on a soup plate. Rosemary showed John how to prick the sausages, and he fried everything they could find: 2 onions, some cold potatoes, and a slightly squishy tomato that made the fat splutter as well as the sausages. It was a delightful meal, eaten in friendly silence, and neither of them minded that the potatoes were a bit burnt, or that all the sausages had burst. Carbonel, replete with all the sprats and 2 saucers of milk, purred sleepily while they ate the cream buns, a little soggy here and there with flour water, but otherwise delicious. When they were comfortably licking the gobstoppers, Carbonel got up, arched his back, delicately stretched first one front paw and then the other, and sat down, very upright, with his tail curled round his toes.
"I have something to tell you," he said. "Today I went to see my people. Strictly incognito, of course."
"What does that mean?" asked Rosemary. "I think it means pretending you're not yourself," said John.
"That was where I went the night before," said Carbonel, ignoring the interruption.
"Goodness," said Rosemary, "you never told me."
"You never asked," said Carbonel shortly. "I told you that I am a royal cat, and that as soon as I am free I must return to my kingdom."
"But where is your kingdom?" asked John.
"Come here, and I will show you."
Carbonel trotted into Rosemary's bedroom and jumped up onto the window ledge.
"Behold," he said dramatically.
Rosemary looked down. "You mean the backyard?" she said doubtfully.
"Good gracious, no. Don't you see the rooftops, plains and valleys and canyons of them, and the forests of chimney stacks and wireless aerials stretching away into the golden afternoon? That is my kingdom, the undisputed territory of the cats. Now look down, and what do you see?"
"The dustbin's in the yard," said John cheerfully, but Carbonel didn't seem to be listening.
"You see the garden walls stretching along the end of all the gardens in Tottenham Grove? All walls, like that one, are our highways. What else could they be there for? So many humans seem to think the proper place for a cat is on the hearthrug. You might as well argue that the proper place for a bird is in a cage. No, it is on the rooftops that we are our true selves. There we live our secret lives. There we skirmish. There we roister. We sing songs. Songs of such beauty that men throw up their windows and shout applause."
Rosemary wasn't sure that it was always applause that she heard, but she didn't say so. The houses of Tottenham Grove were taller than the ones onto which she looked down from her bedroom window. She'd always liked the huddle of roofs with different-shaped chimney pots, some with cowls that twisted and twirled in the wind, some clustered together in all shapes and sizes, and some in neat rows like sand pies on the beach. It might almost be some strange country, she thought. Below her she could see the top of the wall that stretched along the back of all the smutty little gardens of Tottenham Grove, with the side walls joining it like tributaries. She could see a couple of cats now trotting along one of them, in a purposeful way. "A lot of cats come into the garden," she said.
"Oh, we colonize, of course," said Carbonel loftily. "But my poor people."
"Why, what's happened?" said John.
"When my father died," went on the cat, "mourned by all his subjects, I'm told, Carbonel the Good, he was called. May I be worthy of him. There was no royal kit to take his place, since the rightful heir had been stolen.
You? asked John. Carbonel inclined his head. Oh, what did they do?
A couple of cousins tried their hand at ruling, but what could they be expected to do? Mere tabbies.
I like tabbies.
Very distant cousins they were. Well, of course, the inevitable happened. They had no proper authority, and things began to get slack. And then, of course, the alley cats got restless. Always on the lookout for making mischief, they are.
But who is king now? asked Rosemary. Carbonel drew himself up and surveyed the rooftops through half-closed eyes.
There can be no king until I return. Once a month, since time immemorial, we've held the law-giving at the full moon. There...
It's this voice, it makes me want to yawn.
There, my father and his father's father before that dispense justice and wisdom. These fellows make a mockery of it. They brawl and fight and challenge anyone to dispute their leadership. And of course there were plenty of good and bad cats to cross claws with them. They fight for it every month until the strongest one wins. The winner calls himself king, and there he sits on the throne of my fathers until the next law-giving, when another animal will dispute his claim. A sorry, battered collection of animals go limping home, I can tell you.
How did you find out all this? asked John.
By getting into conversation with all sorts and putting two and two together. Mostly honest, decent house animals they were. There were plenty of them, I can tell you, who are loyal to the cat among the stars, as they call me. But the alley cats have got the upper hand. I heard today that for the last 3 months the same great ginger animal has been in command. He fights like a tiger and levies I don't know what taxes of kipperheads and sardine tins.
But now you can go and turn him out and it'll all be all right again, said Rosemary. I bet you could beat him with one paw behind your back, said John. Carbonel graciously inclined his head.
No doubt, but what use is a king who is at the beck and call of somebody else? I am still a slave.
Do you mean to me? said Rosemary. But I wouldn't beck and call, ever.
So you may think now, but power does queer things, you know. The original binding spell is broken. Rosemary did that when she bought me with her 3 Queen Victoria farthings, but there still remains the second spell, the one she made when I tried to escape.
Well, then we must set about finding the hat and the cauldron straight away, said Rosemary. She felt a little uncomfortable that the fun of meeting John had made her forget how important this was to Carbonel. Now, what do you do when you've got them? asked John, who was a practical person.
And that is the worst of it. She made a silent magic, just to make it more difficult, so of course I never heard it. She's the only one who can tell you how to undo the spell.
Oh dear, said Rosemary uneasily, thinking of the queer old woman. Well, I'll tell you what, said John. When Geoffrey comes to fetch us this afternoon, let's ask him to take us to that address you got at the market. You know, the man who bought the hat. Oh, what a good idea. Come on, let's wash up quickly so we shall be ready when he comes. Do we have to? said John. We do, said Rosemary firmly.